Before we begin, we must have some understanding of what evidence is. To smart people, evidence is the body of facts indicating whether a belief or proposition is true or valid. To stupid people, evidence is having an extraterrestrial come down in the middle of Times Square and say, "Hi, tourist, here I am, take a picture of me." No, it doesn't work that way. No intelligent life form is stupid enough to land in the middle of a human race that is out of control and killing their own kind. Humans are still having trouble accepting other human beings. Other human beings who look different than they do. So if human beings are having difficulty accepting their own kind, how in the world do you expect another species to land in the White House lawn? No, it doesn't work that way. To stupid people, extraterrestrials should be able to land in the middle of a planet where their inhabitants are killing themselves. Oh, that looks interesting. A species that kills their own kind. Let's go down there and say hello to the humans so they can blow our ET butts away. That's the way idiots look at evidence. Even humans understand that you should stay away from bad neighborhoods. Even humans understand that your chances of getting robbed, punched, stabbed, or killed get higher depending on the location you're walking into. So what makes you think ETs should be able to come down to Earth and reveal themselves to the gangsters of the cosmos? Yes, Earth is the South Bronx of the cosmos. It's the Fuller Park of the observable universe. Earth is the place you look from afar. Earth is the place you tell your loved ones, don't go into that neighborhood. People out there crazy, man. Don't go out there. Earth is that exit in the highway you avoid. Earth is the place the tourist bus passes by but does not stop. These extraterrestrial civilizations that are getting here are extremely smart. They know that if they even attempt to say hi, humans will blow their brains out just for being different. ETs fly by Earth and they be like, "Hurry up, hun, keep driving. You don't want to get stuck around here." And that's the way ETs look at Earth. Lay people rationale is that if ETs exist, then they should reveal themselves to us and come down and speak to our leader. Really? No. That's not the way it works. You wouldn't go with a Bugatti into the hood. You wouldn't go to Fuller Park or East New York with a Bugatti. So what makes you think that an ET who has technology that is 200 million years more advanced than humans is going to stroll his behind down the streets of Earth? Yo! Only idiots think that way. But smart people, on the other hand, have the ability to read in between the lines. They do not need to see an extraterrestrial to know they exist, because they understand the different types of evidence. So, direct evidence is not the only evidence. People usually want to see to believe. Smart people can see the implicit information given by indirect evidence, such as official documents. They can connect the information between the documents and credible testimony given, not by civilians, not by a regular Joe, by competent authorities. So, in looking at the powerful extraterrestrial evidence, one has to consider the competent authorities who have testified about it, and the official documents that have been released. Credentials help, professional military positions, intellectual competency, and positions of power are just as powerful as direct evidence. Unfortunately, people can look at they can look at an extraterrestrial with their own eyes and still not believe. That is a shame. People can look at evidence right in the face and still deny it. One of the reasons for that is that some people may not possess the capacity to discern the evidence. Another reason may be religious or scientific fanaticism, extremes that block the very nature of understanding. And the last reason is that some people are just idiots. Mark Twain knew this very well. In fact, one of his most popular quotes was, "There is no amount of evidence that can persuade an idiot." Wow. Let me say that again. There is no amount of evidence that can persuade an idiot. Why is that? Why is it that people can still doubt, even though they've seen a UFO? They see it in the sky and they're like, "Oh, I don't know, I saw it." But the reason is that they don't possess the information needed to bring them to a higher consciousness. So when they see the higher consciousness with their own eyes, they fall into a state of denial because they don't have the information to discern what they're seeing. So let us start connecting the dots. In the past 20 years, official government information on UFOs and extraterrestrials has been declassified by more than 22 countries. Just recently in 220 and 221, the government finally admitted that UFOs are real, but they claim that they don't know what they are. And that's the government's new lie. We don't know what they are. The US government has been studying and physically researching UFOs since the 1940s, and there is evidence to suggest that the government knows about extraterrestrials and UFOs since the early 1900s and possibly late 1800s. But let's start with a memo from 1942. This memo was written by Franklin D. Roosevelt to General George Marshall. And who is George Marshall? No, he is not a UFO fanatic, a crackpot, or a regular Joe. George Marshall rose through the United States Army to become Chief of Staff under President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry Truman. Then he served as Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense under Truman. Winston Churchill lauded Marshall as the organizer of victory for his leadership of the Allied victory in World War II. George Marshall was not your regular Joe. General George Marshall was beyond your average highly decorated official. George Marshall was no joke. And he is getting a direct letter from none other than the President of the United States. In this memo, President Roosevelt links the Los Angeles raid of 1942 to UFO crashes, since it occurred only a few days earlier. Here's that document. Let us put it on our board. Awesome document. Let us also have a section here where we can put the presidents that are involved with the UFO situation. Let me give you a little background story on this document. In 1942, UFOs appeared over a military base in Los Angeles, and it was hell. The Army engaged the object and were able to down the UFO. That's where the movie The War of Los Angeles comes from. The movie was very exaggerated. Extraterrestrials do not want to invade our planet, even though that's the narrative being pushed by the government. But the movie was based on the UFO incident of 1942, when several UFOs appeared over a military base in Los Angeles, and the U.S. military went all out on these peaceful visitors. Civilians in the surrounding area thought that a war had initiated over Los Angeles. I mean, it was crazy out there. Missiles flying all over the place, trying to hit this object. And 3 days after the incident, this document was written, and it alludes to wording such as atomic secrets learned from the study of what the government calls, check this out, celestial devices. Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting term. Celestial devices. That term reminds me of the top secret document written by Albert Einstein entitled Inhabitants of Celestial Bodies. Very interesting document. The document also uses other interesting wording like this new wonder. And President Franklin D. Roosevelt uses this type of wording right after downing a UFO near a military base in Los Angeles. Very interesting. The new wonder. Wow, powerful stuff. The document also mentions one of the greatest American scientists. Yes, one of the greatest American scientists, Dr. Vannevar Bush. And we're going to put him here, Dr. Bush. We're going to put the top scientists in this area here. We're going to put them here. And we're going to put the presidents up in this section. Okay, so in these documents, you will also find the name Dr. Bush. Pay attention to these very important names. These names will pop out throughout this video conference. Very, very important names. Dr. Vannevar Bush was not your regular everyday scientific Joe. Dr. Bush was head of the Department of Defense Research and Development Board. Dr. Bush was one of America's top scientists, and he is one of the scientists involved in UFO research, according to government documents. So let's get one thing straight here. We are not talking about crackpots and Looney Tune characters from your visit to the YMCA. No, we're not talking about that. We are talking about very high-ranking officials, top scientists, and President of the United States. So check this out. No decorated, competent authority on Earth will put their careers on the line writing or talking about extraterrestrials or UFOs unless they are real.